When it comes to everything fantasy football, you have to ask one question. Don't you deserve a fighting chance? And now, welcome to Fighting Chance Live with your hosts, Kevin Tompkins and Scott Fishbowl 9 winner, Gary Haddow.
Good evening, everybody. I am Kevin Tompkins, and this is Fighting Chance Live. To my right on the screen is the vivacious Gary Haddow. Gary, brother, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I can't believe, like 3 months ago, did you ever actually think we would be here doing a podcast week one in the books? I don't know. It was a 50-50 shot, and yet, had a fighting chance it was going to happen, and here we are.
Look at you, on brand, name dropping. I love it. So, again, week one in the books. Don't touch that dial because Ryan Hallam will be here. I promise. He's just fashionably late. It's when you're in the big leagues like Ryan Hallam, you can afford to do that. Us small timers, we just kind of get left in the lurch here. So, but you know what? We're resilient. We're strong. We're tough. We can overcome adversity, Gary.
Hell yeah, we'll do it, and we'll stick it through. We might have a rough go of it, and hopefully we won't get sacked too many times before Ryan shows up to be our go-to. I can't believe I just made a football pun, but whatever.
It's like we talk about football here or something. I mean, shit. You've been taking that broadcasting school is really paying off for you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it.
Not even a few sips into my Truly, and I think it's already just hitting me.
I'm still hitting the Cerveza Tecate.
You're obsessed with your Tecate.
Dude, it's so good. It is. Oh, I feel like I'm south of the border. Anyway, so let's get into some week one. We're going to hit this really quick, though. We're not going to spend too much time on it because we want to, really dig into week two, and we'll do that with Ryan. But let's hit the Thursday game because, we were obviously on last week, Wednesday before, talking about it. Didn't really get a chance to cover it. So what's one, like the key takeaway you take away from KC Houston?
So from the KC side of the ball, obviously we get to see Clyde Edwards-Helaire finally. He looks pretty studly. The weird thing was the lack of targets to him, but they obviously didn't really need him. And I really think that just falls in line with the big takeaway from the Texans was they just looked off. The offense looked like it was missing something, maybe like a star-studded number one wide receiver. They did have Will Fuller kind of filling in. Will Fuller did a pretty darn good job to be a poor man's DeAndre Hopkins. I actually do think that, he's going to get a ton of targets. We just need to see him getting downfield a little bit more. Like the targets he had downfield, he did well. And I started Fuller in a lot of places and was a little upset when for Watson underthrew him what would have been a walk-in 52-yard touchdown. Instead, it ended up as a 30-yard reception. I mean, that's the type of thing. I would have won actually a week that would have been amazing just on that one play. But hey, that's what happens. It's week one. And then lastly, David Johnson. He's alive. He's thriving. His back injury is gone. His cement blocks that were attached to his feet in Arizona last season seem to be gone. So all in all, it was good. I think that there's a lot of room for improvement on the Texans. And do you think that there's a single area that the Chiefs could have improved on? I don't think there was anything I saw.
Really just goal line stuff because we saw
that's true.
We saw him get some of that CH and wasn't great. But you know what? It's funny because we just got a comment in the chat about that too from Charity Pros of Joe's about the goal line struggles. Yeah, it's first game. It's going to improve. But the one thing I looked at, I mean, where do you get a stud number one receiver? I mean, it's not like they fall on trees or anything. It's not like maybe you had one for 6 years. I mean, it's crazy. But, I mean, the way they used Will Fuller was certainly different than what we've been accustomed to. But he looked pretty good. So, hopefully, fingers crossed, health stays not an issue for Will Fuller. Other than that, I mean, Watson's going to have a little bit of trouble. And we talked about this, for the weeks leading up to it is, Watson's going to be kind of head on a swivel looking toward, anybody that can get open. Randall Cobb wasn't a factor. Brandon Cooks obviously hampered by his hamstring. Jordan Akins caught a touchdown, so maybe he can be a bright spot in that offense too. But we got to see somebody else emerge if Cooks can find some health too. And then for Kansas City, CEH looks like a bell cow. That's pretty much all I can say. I'm not worried about Darrell Williams. He didn't look that great, and then CEH pretty much took over. I guess we can expect that going forward. But another game, I was very excited. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I want to add something, and this is, I can't tell if I'm turning up the volume on my ears or my volume on the mic for you. So if I all of a sudden got super loud, let me know. I think anytime that you talk about, especially week 1 of any season, it really needs to be couched within the idea. We don't know if maybe the Chiefs' defensive line is so good that it made what could have been a better Texans offensive line, maybe look worse, and actually vice versa. So when it comes to goal line and stuff, I actually believe that the Texans have a really good defensive line, especially for goal line stance and that type of thing. So I do think he'll get better. So anytime when you're looking at what's going on, the next game we're about to get to with the Eagles, we don't know if it's one and or both of the offensive lines and defensive lines that really contributed to a lot of the issues. So really for week 1, you want to be looking at things you want to highlight so that going into week 2, you can have a second data point to start to see, is this the pattern? Because right now we don't have patterns. We have single pieces of data. And I think that's a really important thing before anybody overreacts. We obviously want to be reacting, but we don't want to be overreacting to anything. So with that, we'll go through the games a little bit faster. I think that the Thursday night game was important to discuss there, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to touch on one thing with the Eagles and the Washington football team. Deshaun Jackson was a big, riser as far as a week 1 play in your fantasy team. Don't worry about him. Deshaun Jackson is boom or bust. Keep in mind, I was looking at some stats, and this is the stat that popped out to me more than any other stat in week 1, is that on his 7 targets, he got a 30.6 average depth of target. Yeah. You see that with guys like Marvin Hall who get 1 shot a game, not Deshaun Jackson who gets 7. So you know what? Those are gonna convert. He's gonna regress back to the mean. So keep playing him. I'm gonna be playing him.
They came out, and I think Peterson has said that they knew they were gonna have him on a snap count. We didn't know that. I think he only played 47% of the snaps. So we know that that's going to be increasing, and he's going to get better. So Djax is somebody you and I are both very high on. So I'm going to continue to be high on him. I'll probably put him in this week. We'll get there. But for the other, the big elephant in the room, right, is the offensive line and Wentz being sacked 8 times. Just something, again, we need to watch. They were down 3 offensive linemen, 2 are to IR, and one of them, Lane Johnson, was kind of a later scratch in the week. So we'll just check that out. But, man, the Washington football team, their defensive line, that front 7 is going to be a beast all season, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and then on the offensive side of the ball, we're looking, obviously Terry McLaurin's going to be, the alpha target there. But look out for Logan Thomas because he looked really good. And as we talk about that, look at the Ryan Hallam joining us with the mask on.
Perfect timing.
Gentlemen, nice to see you.
That is beautiful, Ryan.
We're about to we're right there. We're about to drop some Peyton Barber on the world.
Oh, perfect timing. I'm glad I came in. Hold on one second. All right.
I love the mask.
Let's get a little more serious here. Gentlemen, so good to see you.
It's good to see you too, buddy.
Tonight, ready to have a good time.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. So we're just talking about just some quick takes here on Eagles football team. Got anything to add as far as things that stuck out to you?
How about that football team? Yeah, baby.
It rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Those Washingtons.
Doesn't quite have the same ring, I guess, as Cowboys, but I guess it'll have to do for now. But I think one thing that's sticking out to me, especially just for being around the internet today, and this is going forward more than looking back, is I think people are kind of overrating the Washington team defense I know they had 8 sacks last week, but it was the 3 of us and like one other guy in the Eagles offensive line last week. So it wasn't exactly the best situation. I like Chase Young and the guys they have up there, but I don't expect Washington to be an 8 sack a week kind of game. So let's pump the brakes a little bit on the football team here. But definitely a great game. No one really stood out. Like you're talking about Peyton Barber, and I saw the show sheet and Gary's like, oh, take a bow because here's basically what I saw. They came into the season with Antonio Gibson and Bryce Love and Darius Geis and all these guys, and it was like they just one by one just kept picking them off. Geis with the domestic violence, and then Adrian Peterson they just cut, and this and that. And the guy who just remained on the roster the whole time was Peyton Barber, and he sucks. We know he sucks. He couldn't, differentiate himself from Ronald Jones. They both kind of terrible and never did anything. But he was a veteran, and he was still there. So at some point, you're going, wait a second, this guy's going to get touches. Antonio Gibson had 33 carries his final year in college. He's not going to push it to 200 in the NFL. You don't go from 33 in college to 200 in the NFL. That's just not how it works. So someone had to carry the ball. And with Bryce Love, all the news being poor and then him being inactive, who was left? I mean, it was going to be Barber. Totally. He's not good. He's not a great waiver claim.
He's Mike Tolbert.
Yeah, he's going to get taken over eventually by somebody.
Yeah.
But, at least for the time being, he's going to get some carries. What he does with them remains to be seen. But, right now, for lack of God, I hate to use the word Peyton Barber and bell cow in a sentence, but for right now, that's kind of what he is on an okay team. But don't expect him to do a lot with it. You'll probably see a lot of 11 carries for 35 yards. But if he can keep finding the end zone, he'll have value for a few weeks.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And speaking of a bell cow, I mean, are we in agreement here that Cam Newton is the RB1 for New England?
Oh my God, completely.
I mean, Michelle still has the value in the fact that he's going to get the carries as a running back. The Dolphins defense is still pretty bad, even with the improvements. I don't expect Cam to run 17 times a game, or I don't know that he'll make it through the season. Michelle is, again, not great, but he will be the lead running back, at least as far as guys who aren't quarterbacks on that team. Yep. He at least belongs on rosters. Don't start him against the Bills. Don't start him against the Jets, but you get some soft ones on that schedule. He's worth it. But yeah, Cam is going to do some good things this year.
Yeah, and it seems like there's just no one else on the Patriots right now, like that just have any. I don't know.
Excuse me, like Gary, it's the New England football team.
The New England football team. Sorry.
I think we should refer to them all by their city and football team.
New England FC.
And then on the other side of that, I mean, God, I don't really know what to do with the Dolphins, especially Mike Gesicki, somebody that I'm high on. And I think because of the tight end position, you can kind of just hold him. But everybody else, I mean, that backfield came out of nowhere, right? We really thought it was going to be almost a 50-50 split. And all of a sudden it just switched to Howard. Do you guys hear that noise?
Nope.
Yeah, you got a woodpecker somewhere.
You hear it?
I do, a little bit.
Yeah, I hear it also.
Am I that old? I don't even hear stuff anymore? Jesus Christ.
Weird.
That is weird.
I will say that the backfield answer is not Myles Gaskin. I do know that. I mean, I know people are picking him up today. He's not the long-term answer. I still think Jordan Howard is going to be fine. Let's be honest. They played one of the best defenses in football this weekend. I know some guys opted out and some guys left in free agency, but the Patriots defense is still going to be really good. The Dolphins are improving. Their offensive line still isn't great. Was their big signing Eric Flowers in the offseason? It wasn't like all of a sudden they were going to run the ball like the Colts. So sometimes we have to also look into the fact that it's 1 week. I think a lot of things that we saw this week, we're going to look back 5 or 6 weeks from now and be like, oh, that's what happens when there's no preseason. So, I think a lot of things are just guys on new teams haven't played a game with their teams, which goes for Jordan Howard and multiple other guys around. So I still think Jordan Howard will be fine. Matt Breida.
Hey Ryan, I need you to reload.
Okay.
We can both hear it and you can't. And Drake just texted and said he can hear it also.
So go out and come back in?
Yeah. Oh, there it goes.
Oh, it was Ryan. No, but I want no part of that Miami back.
He felt so. He seemed like he was sad about it.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh,
yeah, man.
as if we're not going to bring him back in like 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Or right now. Hey, there it is. Oh, well. Oh, nope. It's still there.
Now it went away.
Okay, it went away. Yeah, but
that was so weird. It definitely was you, though. Sorry, bud.
Oh, good.
Sorry
to you.
I mean, I'm somebody that's been a Dolphins truther, so I'm definitely excited to see what they can do later in the year. I knew that it was going to be tough going against the Patriots, but I just had high hopes. I think that they could be able to show something a little bit more. Obviously, Parker going out definitely makes a big difference. Preston's still coming back from an ACL, so what are you going to do? But really, for me, the big shocker, I started at Matt Breida in some deeper leagues, thinking that he would get something. So that was kind of rough. But I mean, he's dropped now. Moving on.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Parker had 4 catches, 47 yards in the first half, so he was off to a good start if he could have stayed in the game.
Yeah, for sure. Kevin, why don't you take us out with some Green Bay praise?
Aaron Rodgers is back, man. I mean, even if it's just throwing to Devontae Adams and then a 50-50 ball to MVS every so often. But I mean, damn. I mean, Minnesota could see that coming from a mile away, peppering 17 targets. If you see that coming, you still can't stop it. You got issues.
I mean, it was everybody last year. Nobody can stop this guy. I don't understand. They got nobody else on the team. Let's be honest. Scantling can't catch. He lucked into a couple this week. But I see people dropping all kinds of money on this guy, and they are going to be hella disappointed very soon.
The one time that the Vikings wish they had Xavier Rhodes back.
Yeah, right.
But yeah. So I mean, and then we saw, with Aaron Jones, he split. It wasn't a full split with Jamal Williams, but Jamal Williams was a thing. So kind of takes the luster off of his ceiling a little bit for Aaron Jones. But Aaron Jones was still solid. But then the Vikings, I believe they only ran 19 plays in the first half. Green Bay controlled time of possession in that game and just pretty much did what they wanted to do, at least in the first half.
Cousins threw 2 passes. He was 2 for 2 in the first half. Like, what? That's insane. No, it's not better. It is still fully there. Something that you shifted on your computer, it seems like, because you moved and then the noise came back. And then it went away and then it came back and it's still there.
It sounds like Ryan has one of those like wind up teeth. The ones that chatter.
Really
chatter. Mm-hmm.
All right, let me try something else. This is disappointing. This is wholly disappointing.
For anybody that took Adams, especially because you probably were getting him in the early to even mid-second, like, dude, there you go.
Him first, man.
Oh, we knew he was going to be a target monster. Hey, it's one game, so not to 100% overreact, but he crushed it. What, it was 13, 110, and 2 or something? I mean, done. He's very easily especially with Michael Thomas injury. I mean, everything just looks like you got it pretty close to a lock to the wide receiver 1 for the foreseeable future.
Yep, so. He was 14 of 156 for 2 touchdowns. I mean, you're not getting that every game, but I mean, good Lord. I mean, they play Detroit coming up, so I mean, here we go. Hey, there we go.
Hey,
is that better?
I know you.
Okay, I took the microphone out of the equation. Now I'm just using the mic off the AirPods. Maybe that'll make it better.
You still sound good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still sound like chattering teeth, though.
You do not. He's not a little bit further away from the mic, but that's to be expected. It's okay.
Okay.
All good, brother.
It sounds good.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I think really we'll really get into Minnesota a little bit later because I don't know if there's too much else to say there. The number one thing is just, that wide receiver 2 situation is now officially a conversation to be had. It's not necessarily Lazard versus MVS. It could just be Lazard and MVS. Granted, Rodgers isn't going to throw 450 and 4 touchdowns every week, but he could this week against the Lions. There's no reason to stop him. He's better than Mitch Trubisky. So moving on then. Biggest news probably of the entire week 1, Marlon Mack goes down, Achilles tear. Everyone said, if Mack goes down, we're going to have the true number 1 bell cow in Nyheim Hines, and that's exactly what we all got. So Nyheim Hines all of a sudden showed up, but here we are, man. Jonathan Taylor, borderline RB1, solid RB1. We'll see, but it all probably just depends on how much involved Hines is. Is Hines going to be the 2020 Eckler? That's kind of how I view it. But JT, man, Jonathan Taylor got what, six receptions for like 50 plus yards? Hell yeah. That is a way to shut down the haters and just say, he can be a true 3-down back. Yeah, Hines is there. That's fine. But this is going to be something special to watch. Everybody wants to root for the rookie to come on. And not only do we have CEH, we have Jonathan Taylor. It's going to be quite exciting. The rest of the offense outside of Paris Campbell, stuff to be desired. Phillip Rivers definitely made my offseason optimism quickly wane. And I think that he is going to be just a game manager and hopefully one that does not throw too many picks at that.
Yeah, and he's not going to throw
350 yards.
Did he?
Yeah.
He had 360 yards, man. He's not going to throw for 46. He's not going to throw 46 balls a game. That's for damn sure.
No, but I think he's going to be better than a game manager. The problem is the 2 interceptions counteracted the touchdown. But he still had, it might not have seemed like it, but he had still a pretty good statistical game, which is basically his career. It never looks that good, but the dude throws for a ton of yards all the time. And behind that offensive line, I mean, he's gonna have plenty of time. And if Paris Campbell can emerge like it looks like he can with his speed, and Michael Pittman hopefully, comes to the table, after getting used to the league a little bit, again with no preseason, I think Rivers will be okay as long as T.Y. Hilton stays healthy, which is, of course, a giant if. But, I mean, I'm not saying start Phillip Rivers every week, but I think he's at least statistically pretty decent.
Yeah, you can do much worse.
Said what it said.
Paris Campbell's a damn slot machine. I think it's that offense is going to roll through, him and Hilton. Should Hilton stay healthy?
Anybody picked up Campbell this week on waivers, I think, did a good job.
Or if you drafted him at the end of drafts.
If you drafted him
nowhere. Trust me, I looked. I think I saw him in one league, and I think that was our league, the one we did on that mock, earlier on in the offseason. I think he was out there. I think I got him. So yeah, that's the only league I've seen him in. He was rising upwards. But
well, I'll take that back then. And so then just the quickly on the other side of the ball, I think the biggest takeaway is Minshew mania. He rolls on, he's doing well, and I'm kind of a believer. I think that Minshew gets the raw end of what he realistically has done, and we'll see if he can continue to do it. He's going up against the Titans this week, which is a tougher defense probably. But I'm excited to see what happens. He just seems like the fun quarterback to own that's going to get some touchdowns, get some yards, and he can run a little bit. So definitely a solid QB2 that I'm happy to have in a bunch of leagues. And then, man, James Robinson. Sorry, I keep moving us along real fast.
No, it's fine. For me, James Robinson, the volume is there. It's just a matter of the production. I mean, the offensive line isn't very good. I still can't believe they beat the Colts. I don't think that's going to happen most weeks. They come up and surprise us. I think they're going to, be playing from behind most of the time. But I mean, there's no doubt about it that James Robinson is the man there. At least we'll see if Devine and Zigbo comes back in a few weeks. But Robinson could have a stranglehold on that job even by then. How much a stranglehold in the Jacksonville running back job means for fantasy purposes, we'll find out. But if nothing else, he's there for volume. He's a decent flex play, and definitely once bye weeks start, he's a guy that at least will put a representative effort out there for you. That's a ringing endorsement.
LaVisca Chenault.
Oh,
that's all.
It'll be fun to see what he could do.
I mean, that offense looked creative. That's all I'm going to say. Jay Gruden is going to have a lot of fun in that offense this year.
Yeah.
The second I saw Westbrook was a healthy scratch and they put in Chenault, I knew it was going to be a big thing for him. And I think he's only going to get better as the weeks go by. I don't think he's going to pass Chark, but I think he's going to move into the weekly flex play wide receiver 3 category real fast.
For sure.
Yeah, and I'm not buying Keelan Cole. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. I'm with you.
So, Chicago and Detroit, man. I want Kenny Golladay to get healthy soon. Absolutely one of my favorite wide receivers this year. And here we are. He's out, but hopefully he'll get back maybe even as early as this week. It was a tough game. It sucks for DeAndre Swift. Walk-in touchdown that he dropped even after he got his first NFL touchdown, just like a bittersweet day. And I didn't even put it in the show notes, and I forgot to. one of the biggest shockers to me was how many touches AP got. And Adrian Peterson really, he looks like he's potentially flexible. Like and maybe like a flex 2, flex 1, but like he's going to get touches. He's going to get at least probably 12 to 15 touches. The biggest losers seem to be carry on, in my opinion.
Done. He's useless to me.
Yeah.
Move on. You can't stay healthy anyway. And if he's getting out touched by a 38-year-old in the first week when he's been on the team for about 6 days, I think that tells you all you need to know about what the team thinks about him. So, yeah, I agree. Peterson is a pickup. I think he's going to get the touches until Swift is ready to do some more. But, the Lions aren't exactly the home of awesome running backs. So we'll see how long this lasts. But, yeah, Peterson belongs on rosters in decent matchups. That was the Bears. We didn't do it against a bad defense.
Yeah.
So shockingly enough, he keeps digging along. So yeah, until further notice, until we see something different, somehow he's still worth having on the roster.
Yep.
And I'm gonna just toss this in there. You know who finished 10th in total air yards last week? Out of those Lions pass catchers, it was Quintus Cephas, man. That's all I'm going to say. He deserves a back-end stash, on your bench. If Galladay's going to stay, if he's going to be hurt or, Marvin Jones hasn't exactly been a picture of health, Cephas got 10 targets on Sunday. So definitely somebody to file away on the back of your roster. I picked him up basically wherever I could. I think he's definitely somebody to watch out for. I don't know if Amendola is going to have 5 for 81 every week. I would lean toward no,
Agreed.
But Cephas certainly has a little bit of trust early on, and I'm actually surprised that he saw that big of a target share. Yeah, it might be just for the 1 week, but injuries hit. Galladay, is tough coming back. Cephas could be a thing.
You never know. I'm going to do several wardrobe changes during the show, and I'm going to take this time to do the first one. So,
okay, Kalo.
I think the next big thing, I was definitely about to give you some time to chat right there, but
that's what you're talking about.
So, Kevin, how did the Bears Nick Foles do at quarterback this week?
Was it Nick Foles? Because I'm pretty sure it was my man Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky looked pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie. Certainly in the second half more than the first half, but he's usually just that one read guy with Allen Robinson. But Anthony Miller caught a touchdown too. And he's certainly worth using this week, too, against the Giants.
Yes.
I think Trubisky is underrated to an extent. I don't think he's very good. And like you said, the second half was far better than the first. The first, there was a lot of Twitter going, why the hell is he in the game? But by the end of the game, again, against the Lions, who, as our friend Steve will say, will always find a way to break your heart. Certainly looked like Johnny Unitas there at the end. Google him, kids, if you don't know who that is. But yeah, again, against the Giants, he's not a bad play again this week. Shockingly, I took both Bears quarterbacks as my third and fourth in the fishbowl. So I'm debating on him, but I have Garoppolo who's going against the Jets, so I'll probably go that way over the Trubisky for week 2.
Yeah. And
sorry, Steve.
Not to compliment you on your shirt there with your.
I saw Brian Drake was listening. I had to just sport the fantasy football hustle. Don't miss it with Brian Drake and Dwayne McFarland every week. Follow him at Drake Fantasy and Dwayne McFarland on Twitter. That's
right. Don't get out hustled. Yeah. So anybody else in Chicago we want to talk about? Anthony Miller looked pretty damn good. Who knows with Allen Robinson? Maybe some trade winds swirling.
Yeah, I think
he said today that he had a long talk and he's okay. That he's not going to let his contract get in the way. Allen Robinson's never struck me as a diva wide receiver. No. I never really saw that coming as a guy like my good friend Odell. That always seems to let anything get in his way. So I never really saw that as being a problem with Robinson. I still feel pretty confident about him, even with subpar quarterback play.
Right.
Yeah, we'll see. The whole Bears offense is a wait and see for me. I think everything's good. A-Rob, I'm happy with, but I just want to see what they're actually going to do against, I want to say a better defense, but they're playing the Giants, so probably just on par. So moving on then, man, Las Vegas Raiders, it's fun to say that against the Carolina Panthers. There's a lot going on there, and holy Jacobs dropping in with 3 touchdowns. He was getting the targets, getting the receptions. He was a good chunk of their entire offense. Obviously CMC, we expect that from, and he showed up. Yeah, if anything, is it weird to say that CMC kind of disappointed with only a couple touchdowns and lesser yardage than usual? But this was one of those games that was just exciting to see what was going to happen. I loved seeing, I have faded Henry Ruggs all season in favor of my boy Brian Edwards, but Ruggs was used, and he was used all over the field, just like everybody had said. I'm eating some crow right now, and Ruggs was used down the field too. And I think that he's just going to grow and develop, and it definitely made me feel better about Derek Carr, and that Jacobs got his touchdowns. He's not always going to get 3 touchdowns. Those are going to go to Derek Carr. Jesus, I can't talk right now. And I'm not fading Brian Edwards too hard. I know he's going to get dropped a whole bunch. I'm still happy to wait and see what's going to happen, but definitely the stock's pointing up for the Las Vegas Raiders.
And I agree. And I was all over Edwards way more than Ruggs, just like you were. And honestly, if Derek Carr actually threw a decent pass on his 45-yard catch, it would have been a touchdown. He had the defender beat. He had to wait for the pass from Carr, which allowed the defender to catch up and tackle him. But I was hella impressed with Ruggs. I mean, the speed was there, but he made a bunch of good moves. And, got injured in the first half and came back and at least played. Didn't really do anything in the second half, but at least came back and played. So got the respect, I'm sure, of his teammates, and I think he's going to be a guy where it's not going to take a lot of volume for him to turn out a good fantasy day. I think he might only need 3 to 4 catches to have a good fantasy day. I know Steve, who is already giving me hell here, was a big Ruggs guy, so he must be smiling from ear to ear through his grouchy mouth. But yeah, I think the Raiders, it will go as far as Derek Carr will take him, and Josh Jacobs is the man. He's one of my favorites, because I was basically 8th or later in every effing draft I did this year. So I am all over Josh Jacobs this year. He was my first round pick a lot. And yes, he's not going to get 3 touchdowns every week, but I love the volume. I love the touchdowns, and I think he's just a beast.
Yeah, and he had the highest share of team touches in week 1 too, 48%. Yep. So I mean, if they're coming, I mean, he's gonna, if this keeps going like this, like you said, he's not gonna get 3 touchdowns every week. But I mean, damn, he's just.
I mean, he might.
He might. Yeah, but he's gonna be a volume monster at the very least.
Kevin, what'd you think of Teddy? He definitely came out, did some stuff differently than we expected.
Yeah, so I was not super enthused about Robbie Anderson going into the season, but I mean, the guy just, Robbie Anderson did he just get the Adam Gase stink off him?
Yep.
I mean, he ran it off of him because Robbie Anderson looked fantastic. I mean, good for Teddy. I'm happy for Teddy. That's a great story, from his injury and kind of finding his way back, and now in Carolina with Matt Rule and Joe Brady. I mean, it's a great story. I want to see DJ Moore had a kind of subpar game. That's whatever. He'll be fine once all is said and done. But you know what? It looks like Robbie Anderson is going to be that deep guy. Curtis Samuel is going to be used like he was in 2018, being that gadgety type, short area guy that just runs off yak. And then we'll see about Ian Thomas, but that offense is going to be pretty fun. They're not going to stop anybody, but with that offense, they're going to be putting up points. They're going to be a garbage time team.
So I saw this stat earlier today. I'm looking at it from Jin Sans on Twitter. Teddy Bridgewater last year, 6.2 yards average depth of target. Last year, 11.7% deep rate. Granted, that was 4 games. Teddy Bridgewater today, 8.2 yards average depth of target, 26.5 point deep rate. I think that we were not expecting him to be going deep so frequently, and just that's where it's going to be at. If they're going to keep doing that, it's going to open up McCaffrey's lanes even more. I mean, I just think that we have a new coach. We didn't know what was going to go in, as we said earlier to start the show. Like, this is week 1. Let's see what's a trend and what's not just a single data point.
Yeah.
Let's also remember, though, it was against the Raiders, who aren't exactly a great defense. I mean, Atlanta sucks in their division, so that's good as well. We'll see what he can do against the Saints.
The Panthers' defense is one of the worst in the NFL, probably.
Oh, I agree. I'm just saying, I'm not sure that he's going to go, be that good every week. It was, 1 week against not a great defense. I'm still pumping the brakes a little bit on Teddy, pumping it a lot on Samuel, pumping it a little on Robbie Anderson. I'm willing to give him a little bit chance. And I agree with Kev that definitely DJ Moore is going to be fine, not for people to freak out on him. Not 100% sold on the Carolina offense just yet outside of McCaffrey, but it was absolutely a great first game. I want to see a little bit more before I'm completely buying into that just yet.
Oh, yeah. Just quickly, this is not necessarily a Start Your Teddy podcast by any means. This is more of a Teddy did enough to make the other pieces relevant podcast.
What kind of podcast is this?
It's like he's a huggable guy.
He is a huggable guy. And you're right. It's a great story, man. His leg almost fell off. He was pretty much out of, potentially never coming back. Not quite Alex Smith, but, not that far off. It was almost amputation. So to see him come back, do great last year and get a hell of a contract, it's definitely, I'd love to see it. I'm definitely rooting for the guy.
All right. Moving on to everybody's favorites, New York Jets and the Bills. Man, Josh Allen coming out, trying to live up to that dark horse MVP status. We'll see. It was the Jets, so who knows? But, he looked like he was making some good connections with John Brown, with Stephon Diggs. He gets Miami this week. I'm just happy I own Josh Allen and Scott Fishbowl. That's all I know right now.
Yeah. I think it's going to be another fantastic week. I own Josh Allen and Scott Fishbowl as well, as everyone passed on him because of the completion percentage. But he has been improving. I think he'll continue to improve. I know it is a 1 week against a bad defense. So it's another week against another bad defense. But I think this guy's really just coming into his own. I was surprised he went to John Brown so much. I kind of thought he was going to get forgotten a little bit with Stephon Diggs coming in. And now with 2 decent running backs, I think the Bills' offense is going to be good, and I really, really like Josh Allen.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. And, let's talk about that split, too, because Singletary and Moss, it was pretty close to even. It's 51-39 in favor of Singletary. But, with high leverage stuff for Moss, I would say that's pretty much even, to me at least. So that's something to monitor too. Moss got the touchdown out of the backfield too. So, we'll see what happens with Singletary. I did have 5 catches too. So both were used in the pass game. Moss just caught the touchdown. But something to monitor, certainly.
Definitely. Here's the one thing I wanted to interject on this, and everybody's all happy. Zach Moss got all the goal line, all the usage inside the 10.
Yep.
He didn't do anything with it except for the touchdown catch. He got stuffed time after time after time. He had like 7 carries inside the 10 and got like 2 yards out of it. So he's going to have to be more productive if he's going to continue to get the use. I mean, it's great that he got it to start, but you can't get stuffed every time and they're going to keep handing the ball.
Yeah.
So I like Zach Moss. I own him in several leagues, but if you're going to get the ball inside the 5, young man, you're going to have to take it into the end zone and not the 4-yard screen pass. You're going to have to go between the tackles because that's what we were told when you came in the league, and you're going to have to be productive with it, not get stuffed 3 times and have them bring out a kicker.
Young man.
That's right, young man. I'm half your age.
I'm guessing that this is going to come down to a Jets thing. Jets are just going to be tough to run on the inside.
They are. You're right, Shannon. They are.
Otherwise, we're saying the same thing to CH. That CH is going to be giving up that work to Darrell Williams, and I just don't see that happening. I'm a big Moss fan, so obviously a lot of my bias is showing. But I think that Moss is going to be he's going to be the back that I want to start. If I have Devin on my roster and Moss, I'm starting Moss. If I have Devin but not Ross, I might be thinking about whether or not I even want to put Devin in my lineup. Whereas Moss, I'm at least looking at him as a RB3 flex type situation.
And I don't disagree. I'm just saying he's gonna have to produce, and if he wants to keep getting the usage, because he didn't really. If you really look at how many touches he got inside the 10 and what he did with them, you have to say he didn't do all that well, despite the fact he got the touchdown.
Man, there are so many games week 1. Just realizing. Well, with the Jets, I mean, what is there to say besides they are what we thought they were? The biggest takeaway is, Bell goes down with his hamstring. Gase supposedly puts him back in, and all of a sudden, Bell is now on IR for 3 weeks.
It's Jamison Crowder and nothing else. There's nothing else to talk about with this team.
Yeah, and don't expect Jamison Crowder to have over 100 yards and catch a touchdown either, because he's an 8-catch 50-yard guy if there ever was one.
His touchdown was crazy long.
Yeah,
50-yard touchdown, 70 yards, I think, maybe 76. So,
yeah, something like that.
But there's really nothing else to talk about with the Jets and Crowder.
Then we'll just move on to the Jets, close, almost twin brother, and that's the hapless Browns. The Browns definitely look better, but man, they did not look good. Big question marks around Baker. You are playing the Ravens, and the Ravens defense is pretty damn good, especially when they added on Calais Campbell, and we'll see. This is another one of those. I think everybody's all eyes on the Browns to see if they're just going to repeat yet again, just doing nothing.
I hope so.
Is there a bright spot on the Browns that you saw, Kevin?
Not really, man. If Baker Mayfield could get the ball to Odell Beckham and somewhere where he can catch it, he would have had a pretty good day. But other than that, I mean, God, just the falling off of Baker Mayfield has just really sunk this team. I mean, among every other thing on the Browns, it's just sad to see.
I kind of like it, to be honest. I don't really like them, so I don't mind it. I think Jarvis Landry
I don't either. Don't get me wrong.
Is the one guy who I think will be fairly consistent just on a target volume basis. But if they lost every game, I wouldn't be upset.
Yeah. And on the other side, I mean, the Ravens are the Ravens. Like, news alert, Lamar Jackson reaffirmed he is a top 2 quarterback in the NFL.
Really good.
Really, really good, and had to do nothing and just handedly beat them. So the real question, just again looking forward for what's going to happen week 2, is going to be Ingram versus Dobbins. I'm curious if they were just up so much that they gave Dobbins a little bit more run because they know what they have in Ingram. We'll see what happens. I'm a huge Dobbins guy, having him in 3 of my 4 main leagues, and so we'll just see.
I don't know what you think, Kev, but I'm sorry I keep talking. But I mean, I think Ingram is getting very close to 30. I think he's a plotter up the middle guy. I don't think he does anything exciting. And I think Dobbins is the future. So I think when they were so far ahead, we're like, give this young man the ball. And unlike Zach Moss, he actually got it in the end zone when he got the red zone carries. So I think he's going to continue to get the work. And I think if you own Mark Ingram, you're going to be very upset in about 2 or 3 weeks when he's barely touching the ball.
Yeah, I'd put him out there, see if anybody wants to just take him off your hands. I mean,
take 50 cents, 25 cents on the dollar for Mark Ingram right now.
Yeah, but let's also talk about how Mark Andrews is going to be a top 2 tight end this year.
Yeah.
After George Kittle?
Maybe. If he plays.
At this point, it's looking like George Kittle might be number 3. George Kittle's got to get healthy first.
Logan Thomas 1, Mark Andrews 2.
Very nice.
I'm starting Logan Thomas in Scott Fish this week, and I'm starting him in my main home league. So,
he was my one waiver claim in Scott Fish Bowl this week too.
Yeah, for sure.
I got it for free.
Yeah, I picked him up last week just in the event, just in case. Yeah. All right, to Seattle, man. Russ was cooking. Even as I said that Lamar being a top 2 quarterback, I almost thought, do I need to expand this to top 3? Is Russ going to assert himself in the Mahomes-Lamar? We can't say it after 1 week, but my God, dude is awesome. We've always known he's awesome. I hate the Seahawks. So does Ryan, but I respect this shit out of Russell Wilson. He is really, really good at being a quarterback. We'll see what happens. It could have just been the Falcons are bad, but Seattle's going up against New England. Makes me even more excited to see what they can do. It's going to be a fun matchup. Doing all that, we'll talk about that in a bit. Anything else to say on Russ?
He's good.
He's
really good.
And
He does bad dad jokes on Twitter.
My biggest concern with the Seahawks is going to be, Chris Carson only played on less than 50% of their snaps, I believe it was, and that's a little concerning. I think he had like 7-8 carries, but he had 2 touchdowns via the air. That's not going to happen regularly. I think that they were slowly getting him back up to full speed because of his hip and all that stuff. I think that he'll be there within a few weeks. He'll be their bell cow. I'm not too concerned about it. But again, we want to keep monitoring that. Their wide receivers are good. There's nothing else to say. I love Tyler Lockett. I love DK Metcalf. Have all offseason. Did nothing to make me regret that. And the other side of the ball. Holy moly, Matt Ryan. 450 yards and 3 receivers to go over 9 receptions and 100+ yards. You buying into this, Kevin, into this Russell Gage thing?
I'm buying into Russell Gage. You know what? I'm obviously buying the other two. I think it's gonna be a trade-off between Hurst and Gage as far as week-to-week viability, because I can't see that offense, even if Matt Ryan's gonna be throwing the ball. They're gonna be, in every game they play. They're not gonna get crushed. If they do get crushed, obviously they're gonna be throwing the ball too. So there you go. But Julio Ridley, awesome. Gurley's gonna get some work. But Hurst and Gage, I think that's a toss-up for me. Your guess is as good as mine as who's going to pop off each week. I think this week just happened to be a Gage week. Should still be owned in a majority of leagues, but, I don't know when I'm ever going to start him.
Yeah, true. Chargers, Cincinnati. Sorry, go for it, Ryan.
No, I was just agreed.
I think the biggest takeaway from this is probably going to be the Eckler-Kelly split. Eckler, 1 target. Kelly got the goal lines. Joshua Kelly got the goal line carries for the Chargers. How nervous are you guys on a 1 to 10, 10 being terrified, 1 being not at all, for Eckler's usage moving forward?
2. I'm not worried.
4.
I'm just not really worried. I think that there's going to be an emphasis, even though Tyrod Taylor hasn't typically been the quarterback to pass to his running backs. But I think Eckler may make up for it some actually rushing the ball. But, I think that was just kind of an anomaly for Eckler. I think he's still going to have his useful PPR weeks. I was really surprised at how quickly Kelly asserted himself because, I love Josh Kelly. I've been talking him up most of the offseason. I just thought it would be early Justin Jackson, and then Kelly kind of getting in there maybe week 4, 5, 6, and then getting the role. Didn't think it'd be out of the gate. So it's really, really a good sign for Kelly, and he's viable. I had no problem putting him in as a flex with my constructions and 0 RB. He's going to be starting for me, in a bunch of leagues.
Yep.
He definitely earned himself a role. I'd say off week 1, I think Eckler, like Kev said, will get more than he did this past week. But that doesn't mean that Kelly isn't going to be a bigger part of it too. Let's not act like Tyrod Taylor is some great quarterback here. So I think the Chargers are still going to try to run the ball in any game where they're close. I mean, this week coming against the Chiefs, I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball for long because they're probably going to get crushed pretty quickly. But I think both guys are going to have some value. Eckler more of the RB2. I think he was overdrafted a little bit this year. But I think Kelly absolutely earned himself a role right off the bat, like Kevin said. I don't think that was a fluke. I think he's going to get his share of carries. I think the Chargers, when they're at their best, they're going to be running the ball more than throwing the ball. I think he absolutely belongs on a roster in every league, and he certainly has to carry some flex consideration pretty much right away or against any defense that's not exactly, Patriots, Ravens, Niners, Bills, those kinds of things. But against any average or worse defense, I think he could be in your lineup right away.
Yeah, and then the wide receivers, I just want to quickly touch on. Mike Williams despite having what we thought was going to be a shoulder.
I thought he was hurt, man. Did you see him take shot after shot, and he got back up like it was nothing.
It was nuts. And 9 targets. He led the team in targets, and this is something that we're going to have to watch. Like, Tyrod Taylor likes to throw down the field. Like, that's kind of his thing. Anthony Lynn has come out and said, we're going to push it down the field. That's why Eckler might not be getting the targets. So this is going to be a kind of fluid situation for the first few weeks. Is Keenan Allen not going to be where we thought? That being said, Hunter Henry did well. I feel like we broke down the entire offense, and that was not the point of this, but we'll see. The Bengals, I have one thing. You guys can add what you want here. I hope Mixon gets more targets. I think I'll have better games. Everything else for me is just in a waiting pattern for that team because I just don't know what to make of them.
I mean, I think it's a rookie quarterback with no preseason, so it's going to take Joe Burrow a little time to acclimate to the NFL. I think considering the situation, I think he did pretty well. He didn't do great statistically, but if you actually take a look at the situation, nothing but practice, working into his first NFL game, and he didn't go against Chargers defense is actually pretty good. So, I don't think it was bad at all. I still like Tyler Boyd. I was shocked at the amount of usage that AJ Green got. That was actually a good sign for me. But to me, it's Mixon and it's Boyd. I'm not a big Green guy. I think those are going to be the two guys that you look to. And I think, come week 6, 7, 8, I think that Burrow is going to be in a good place and a chance to, super flex start now. But I think he will improve as the season goes on.
Yep, I agree, and I feel bad for Mixon too because Mixon's never really gonna realize the upside he has if Gio Bernard is just gonna be just hanging around and always in the mix there. Because I feel like they don't really want to commit to Mixon, especially in the receiving game. I mean, Bernard's out there on every third down. It's tough if you're a Mixon owner seeing Gio Bernard just out there on every third down, just capping his upside.
Yeah, you saw people drafting Mixon like 6th, 7th, and I was a little too rich for my blood. I think he's a very nice back, but I think he's a little overrated in my opinion.
So moving on to a game I wish we could just skip, and that's Arizona against at San Francisco. I'm just going to reduce it to this: like the Niners' wide receiver core was decimated, and with Ayuk and Debo not playing. Kittle ended up in the second quarter getting his knee kind of messed up. And so the running backs got, a 44% target share, which is pretty bananas. I don't know, whatever. They looked underwhelming. I personally don't want to really lament on that. I think everything will change and just get better. They're just a team that needs to get that stuff figured out. Really, Arizona is I don't want to sell them short. Their defensive line looks pretty good. Their defense looked okay. Hopkins, holy shit, 14 catches, crushing it. And then even, they were giving Edmonds a lot of play, and that seemed to have Edmonds and Drake both running really well. Arizona came out swinging, and I thought that they looked good.
They looked hungrier. Again, I think the 49ers, again, with no preseason, Garoppolo was certainly off. Either his throws were a little late, they were a little off target. It just wasn't a good game. And like you said, I mean, they were without their top 2 receiving targets in the second half. Kittle might as well not have even been out there. I certainly wasn't 100%. I give him credit for gutting it out. Tevin Coleman was compromised. I mean, they had it was McKinnon, it was Mostert, and it wasn't much else out there. And then throw in the fact that Garoppolo was a little off. It was a terrible game for the 49ers. I think they'll take it out on the Jets this week. But yeah, and let's face it. Also, Gary, last year, Kyler Murray crushed us both times last. They're not equipped to handle a mobile quarterback. Lamar Jackson crippled them last year. Their defense is not built for a mobile quarterback. Yeah. So for whatever reason, Kyler Murray kills them running, kills them throwing. My biggest takeaway in there is we have to stop the Christian Kirk love. I don't think he's that good. I think he is a borderline rosterable. I just think he's overrated, and I think Larry Fitzgerald has a chance to have a better season than Christian Kirk.
I thought that had a lot to do with Sherman, though, because he knew they were going to pick on the opposite side of Sherman. So I think Kirk still has viability.
He had 3 touchdowns last year. It was all in one game.
Sure did.
High ankle sprain for more than half the season.
I don't like Christian Kirk.
Anyway, let's go.
Wardrobe change.
We'll keep moving on. All right, Kevin, Tampa Bay, New Orleans. There's some to unpack. There's some big stuff. What are we looking at here?
We're looking at Michael Thomas potentially being out this week, maybe another game. But we'll see what happens with the reports here because Michael Thomas got rolled up on. That was tough. Obviously I've got him in a lot of places. So a lot of people, used pretty high capital in the first round on him. So we'll see what happens with that. But, Kamara looked pretty good. Brady on the other side looked pretty rusty. I agree with that, certainly. Saints defense is the Saints defense. The Saints are probably, if they're not the best team in the NFC, they're the second best. I mean, they're just going to be good year in, year out. But I'm not going out to grab Traquan Smith though, because we've done this song and dance how many times?
Yeah, totally. Jared Cook's probably the main beneficiary for 1 week, but we'll get to that in week 2. What about on the Tampa Bay side of the ball, Ryan?
I'm concerned again with Brady. I mean, let's face it, he couldn't throw the ball that far down the field. It wasn't that much different than the end of the year for New England. So are we buying into the hype? Is all this Tampa Bay and all this BS that they're throwing, is he living off his legend? But he didn't look good at the end of last year. He certainly didn't look good in week 1. I mean, the Saints pass defense is solid. So I guess we'll find out this week. Is he shot? Is he still viable? I mean, let's be completely honest. He did not look good this week.
Yeah, we'll see. A lot to learn there. Dallas at the Rams, man. Also, I just didn't feel like I learned anything from this game. Blake Jarwin's gone, tore his ACL for the year, so that sucks. They lose our tight end. Man, I hate saying this because injuries suck, but if anything, just having one less piece out of that receiving core may actually be a benefit for the wide receivers, just because it's already muddled enough.
And Zeke.
Yeah. I think we're just still in a wait and see mode. We expected more out of Dak, but maybe that's just the Rams. We'll see. And anything that I'm missing there? Did CeeDee Lamb come out and show enough to make you be like, all right, this dude's the legit, he's the real deal?
That and the injury to Jarwin says yes to me. I mean, because Blake Bell is not walking into the Blake Jarwin role. So, yeah, I think the targets that are, vacated with the Jarwin injury go to the wide receivers. So, yeah, I think that makes CeeDee Lamb to me more relevant on a week-to-week basis, where I thought he was a question mark coming into the season with Cooper and Gallup being so good. But now, without really an offensive tight end, it's those 3 receivers and Zeke getting all the vast majority of the targets. So, I think it really helps CeeDee Lamb.
Yep. And then Cooper came out like gangbusters too. 14 targets, 10 catches. Gallup didn't really have a great game. CeeDee Lamb, he had 10 PPR points, 10.9, I believe. So, they're all going to eat. They're all got a place at the table. They're all going to get a good slice of that pie. So, we'll see what happens going forward. But yeah, it sucks to have it happen that way. But, Jarwin, it's those vacated targets. It's really gonna just open it up for those 3 backs.
So many food analogies, Kevin. Now I want to eat something. We got to eat and a slice of pie, and man, I'll be right back. I need 5 minutes to go grab something to eat.
You don't want to go change your clothes again?
No, I got one more left before we're done. This is the Casey Kasem T-shirt, in case you don't know.
Nice.
So yeah, we're representing everything tonight.
Fair enough.
We got to get a shirt, Gary.
I know. Don't worry. I'm in the process of working on it. I wasn't supposed to tell you that though. Rams side of the ball. The wide receivers were who we thought they were. Woods is Woods. Kupp will have his as long as he gets his touchdowns. On the running back side, are you guys believing in Malcolm Brown?
To an extent.
Not even a little bit.
You can only believe in him so much until Akers really just strangled him.
Starter. He's the starter. I'm shocked at what he did, to be honest. I thought he was going to have 5 carries and do next to nothing. I think once Darrell Henderson is healthy, I think that's going to cut into it more. But Cam Akers is taking the job. It's just a matter of time. They didn't draft him for no reason. Malcolm Brown, to me, is a piece. He'll have value maybe till the middle of October. I doubt even that long. I think it's Akers eventually. It's just a matter of how long it takes for him to take over the role.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be more positive than both of you. And I'm going to say that I think at least through the end of October, we're probably going to have the Malcolm Brown show.
I said the middle of October. You said the end of October.
Whatever. So middle end, that's fine. But I would be happy starting him and as long as it's not a terrible matchup, then I would be happy starting him. I think Akers is going to take time. It's not as if that we don't need to hash out the offensive line and all that stuff and what Akers did before, but he's still a rookie getting up to, full NFL speed. I'll take Malcolm Brown right now, and Henderson, when he gets there, he'll get there. So, we should say that Gerald Everett banged up his back. So it sounds like he might play. We'll see, but that's just a little, a bump up for Tyler Higbee.
Not for Johnny Mutt.
Not for Johnny Mutt. Damn it. Every freaking
I'm with him. Tyler Higbee did nothing for me.
Okay, moving on to the Steelers and the Giants, a game that I was actually very excited for. And for me, it lived up to the hype. I wanted to see the Steelers defense, and I wanted to see what Danny Dimes was going to be able to do to come over the top. And he showed up pretty darn well. The Steelers defense showed up really well. Man, Big Ben, he was my late round target all over the place, and he showed up. Damn it, I'm totally bearing the lead because I'm trying to be positive about it. But
can James Conner be healthy for a goddamn quarter?
No, he can't. No, he cannot. He cannot.
But Benny Snell looks good. He looked good. I spent so much money on Fab in a few leagues. I didn't care. I think Snell's going to be the waiver wire ad of the year.
He definitely could be. I mean, Jesus, he went over 100 yards in like 13 seconds.
Right.
Yeah, he's definitely God, you want to root for Connor. That guy beat cancer and that shit, and like he's like really good 2 years ago. But you're right, he just can't stay healthy. Mike Tomlin came out. He's like, he's our bell cow. Well, one friggin' quarter into the season, he's not the bell cow anymore. Jalen Samuel obviously is not the guy. So yeah, Snell is. He was definitely one of the big waiver wire pickups of the week, and you're right. I mean, the team is going to run they definitely throw. They definitely throw, but they certainly run the ball an awful lot. So he's got a chance to be really good.
And speaking of their throwing, man, Juju looks pretty good. He did exactly what you need to as a wide receiver 1, 2 touchdowns, 6 receptions. But Deontay Johnson, I don't care if people think that he let people down. I thought he was awesome, especially considering he had a down first half. He had 10 targets. Dude, the Steelers just know how to draft wide receivers. Like, they're just good at it. It's crazy. Whoever their talent scout is on point.
Just don't put him back to punt, to catch a punt.
Yeah, I'm doing a wide receiver / cornerback article for Fantasy Alarm that's coming out tomorrow. And that's one of the things I wrote about Deontay Johnson. Like, I went from not knowing what to expect from this receiving core to really excited about Deontay Johnson in 1 week. So I'm with you. I think obviously Juju is going to get his, but I think despite the fact that James Washington did score the touchdown, I think it's pretty clear that Deontay Johnson is the number 2 there. And with Ben back and with Ben healthy, I think the number 2 for the Steelers is pretty valuable. Not the number 2 on Odell Beckham's chest, the number 2 for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I get the joke now. I get it. Yeah.
I made that last week, and Gary was looking at me like I had 4.
Are you kidding me?
I had no idea.
You live on Twitter, dude. How did you not see that Odell Beckham likes to get pooped on?
Work's been busy for a couple of weeks, and even like the week before, Kevin Chubb, one of my buddies that listens now regularly, he also made the joke, and I was like, I don't understand. He even was like, my joke fell flat, and I was like, what joke? Like, you said the number.
It's not a coincidence that he's on the Browns. Is what we're saying.
Okay.
He is more of number 2.
I think one of the biggest things that we have to pay attention to this week, if Melvin Gordon really just falls flat, because he is going up against the Steelers' run defense, they may be the run defense this year who you kind of have to fade your running backs. Saquon Barkley had 9 for -5 with a long of 7 at one point. Just like, what? But hey, you can pass on them, you can do whatever, but their offensive line is going to be their defensive line is going to be amazing. So we'll see about that. And the wide receivers for the Giants, I'm going to wait and see approach. I want to believe, but Ryan.
We've been on this show for almost an hour now, or I've been on from. Dude, you got to get the haircut. What's going on?
Dude,
I know it's quarantine and shit, but dude, that's out of control. It's out of control.
Teresa can do it, but like I can't go to a barber
at this point.
I don't really go out of Micro shirt.
Yeah, but let Teresa do it. It's out of control.
No, she's done it before.
What are you in Oasis? What's going on?
Bro, we got a 3-year-old, okay? It's not as if like
What does that do with getting your hair cut?
Let him cut your hair.
Turn the woodpecker back on, okay?
All right, anyway. I love Darius Slayton. I effing love Darius Slayton. I love what I saw from him last year, and I love what he did to the Steelers defense. He's the big play guy. He just oozes potential. I love Daniel Jones, and I love Darius Slayton. I've drafted him so many times. It's embarrassing how many times I drafted him. But I also think Sterling Shepard is going to do very well. I think Golden Tate is going to be the guy until Evan Engram gets hurt. I think Golden Tate's going to be the guy who kind of suffers a little bit until that tight end targets open a little bit more.
I have a very important question for Kevin, and we're moving on to the Titans and the Broncos. And my brother-in-law, Ryan, just texted me, and, he has Lindsey in a league, and he wants to know he can put him on IR. This is like a money league, so he kind of has to pay like $10 to do it. So that's not a big deal, but do you drop Lindsey or do you put Lindsey on the IR? Lindsey is dealing with turf toe, and I don't really know what to do here. So I said I would ask the two of you, but Kevin, you're the go-to.
In terms of Lindsey, the turf toe can linger. If you need the spot, you can drop him, because if he does come back, I'm worried that Gordon is going to have himself just cemented in all facets, and I think Lindsey really has an uphill climb. So if you need a spot, drop him. But, if he can keep on IR, he's not the worst guy to keep, just hanging around. But
my concern is when you're going to play him. That's what I said.
That's just a deep sigh for me, because I have him in 75% of leagues.
I think it's definitely a stash and see what happens. I mean, obviously Gordon's not going to have a big week this week, but maybe he doesn't take control. I mean, let's look at Melvin Gordon's career. It's like 1,000-yard season, and he held out last year and then looked like crap when he came back, which allowed Austin Eckler to remain relevant. So I think he's worth a stash unless he doesn't have the room to stash him. If he does, obviously stash him and wait and see what happens. If Gordon doesn't, differentiate himself or take control, I think Lindsey can come in and be okay. But I mean, if he has somebody else on IR, if he's got Debo or somebody like that, I agree. I'd drop him. But if it's just a free stash, then there's no sense not stashing him.
Right.
Is there anything else from this game that really made you be like, all right, I learned something? Is there anything notable?
Continue to disappoint us in the coming weeks.
He's the new Sammy Watkins. Week 1, he shows up and that's it. All right. Well, I mean, that's week 1. So, Kevin, I'm gonna have you take us through the week 2 slate. We'll see how quickly this goes. Ryan, I apologize if we're here a little bit longer than we expected, but I don't think we expected an hour to go through week 1. So,
yeah. So let's we're gonna be here for a few hours. So settle in.
I've got 3 articles due tomorrow, guys.
That's it.
I mean, one's kind of already done.
So tomorrow's game, Cincy at Cleveland. So, we talked about the Browns offense, and if we can really believe in it, who are you most confident in, Ryan, in that offense? Is it, either Landry or Beckham, Chubb or Hunt? Who do you like in that Browns offense? Who is the most confident start you have in that offense in any given week?
Really, the only confident start I have right now is Jarvis Landry. I don't know what to expect out of the 2 backs. I was really disappointed in Nick Chubb last week. And right now, if I'm starting one or the other, I'm starting Kareem Hunt, which hasn't been the way I felt in the preseason, or I guess the off season, since there was no preseason this year. So right now it's Landry and Hunt are the only 2 that I feel really confident about. I'm starting Nick Chubb. If I draft him in the first round or in the first 15 picks, I'm not going to sit him. But I don't feel really good about him right now.
Yeah, I'm starting all 4. I have no qualms about it. I think on any given week, all 4 of them can hit at the same time, and I think 1 or 4 of them can hit. So I'm going to still start them regardless. I think that they're all 4 too damn talented at football.
Yeah, they were last year too, and look what happened.
Yeah, it's just different. Like that was Kitchens, and this is Stefanski, and we go against in a division rivalry with the Ravens, not like the
There's
Bengals.
Always excuses with this goddamn team and effing Beckham. There's always excuses. At some point, we got to look in our mirror and be like, we're something we're doing here.
They're going to do better.
All right.
They're going to move this team to Portland, Oregon, and then redo the Browns in 2030. And then they'll win 2 Super Bowls in Portland. All right. So let's get into the Sunday slate. So Giants at the Bears. Are we looking at another fire-up Mitch Trubisky game here against that Giants defense at home? Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, Giants secondary, they tried to improve it. They brought in James Bradbury. DeAndre Baker got in some gang card game, shoot him out, run away, I don't know what. And he wasn't even that good to begin with. So now they've got James Bradbury and a bunch of trash. So even Trubisky can pick this defense apart. Yeah, I'm really, really thinking about putting him in my super flex spot in Fishbowl this week. So he's clearly not a QB1, but if you're in a super flex or 2 quarterback league, you really have to give serious consideration to Trubisky this week.
Am I crazy to have him at QB 14?
No, it's way less crazy than QB 13.
Yeah, that's what I had him at last week. So, yeah,
hey, it paid off.
Starting him
a while, but it paid off.
Wentz. Yeah, it's wild. What a time we live in. Who saw this coming 3 months ago? Because we all just assumed that Nick Foles, going to take the job, and then we're looking at Mitch Trubisky, and that Undertaker gif is pretty much just out of the casket. He's back, and we'll see how long that lasts. But is Slayton, as far as those Giants receivers, Gary, is he the guy to own, or are you're still in on Sterling Shepard?
Nope, Slayton all the way, fully all about it now. I mean, I do think that the Pittsburgh defense, could have been favoring who they would have deemed to be the wide receiver 1, and they'll let Slayton beat him if he can. I think that we're going to see Slayton, it's year 2. We're going to see Slayton be one of those guys that's going to be just a late round steal moving forward. And I do want to emphasize just with Trubisky, I think squeaky wheel with A-Rob. I think Robinson's going to be hyper targeted, and I think that Chicago is going to win this game. So I would put my faith in them.
Here we go. So let's go to the next game here. Falcons at the Cowboys, and we talked about the passing game, with the Falcons. So I'll take this to Ryan. What are you doing with Hayden Hurst? I mean, obviously he had some buzz going into the season, had a middling week 1. You still starting him with confidence?
I am. Again, it's week 1. It's the guy with his first week on a new team with no preseason. So I'm cutting a lot of those guys some slack. There was no game action coming into the season. So, yeah, I mean, I drafted Hayden Hurst a lot, bought into someone's going to take the Austin Hooper targets. Of course, Russell Gage is an up-and-coming receiver, so he is certainly going to take someone. So I kind of agree with you, Kevin. It might be a little Gage pops off one week, Hurst pops off another. But I think he's still going to have plenty of value. And I'm definitely not only rostering him, but I feel pretty good about him this week.
Nice. Yeah, I think as far as I'm looking at the show doc that Gary's editing right now. They wrote the Dallas Office.
When I was nice and sober, now that I'm buzzed off my Truly, I'm like, oh shit, that says office, not offense.
He meant to say drunk.
Very disappointing. Very disappointing.
So let's go over to the AFC, Jacksonville at Tennessee. So we'll go to Gary here. So who are you most excited about in this Jacksonville offense, at least this week? You think James Robinson's going to keep popping off here? Is this another Visca week? You think DJ Chark's going to assert himself? Where are you at with the pieces in that Jaguars offense?
I'm definitely nervous about Robinson this week. I think that the Titans line is pretty solid. I don't think he's quite a Melvin Gordon to get the 78 yards and the later touchdown. I might get up there, but Visca will be fun to see what he does. But I'm really, really hoping for, I think a lot of us are, if you're a DJ Chark truther, then you really are just hoping that last week was just a random blip on the radar. Yeah, he got the touchdown, but ultimately I want to see Jacksonville win this game. Like, I feel like it would just throw the entire NFL into whack. We went from the Titans are close to a lock for playoffs, and then Jacksonville's vying for 101. And if they won this, and dude, Minshew is good. Like, he is good. He is fun to watch play. He is fun when he's not on the field, just to watch him like on video and stuff because of that mustache, and it's just fun, and his hair and his beard. And that was supposed to be a joke, and it kind of got away from me. But I don't know. It'll be fun to see what happens.
He is Napoleon Dynamite's uncle. Let's be honest. I mean, that is who he is in a person, and he is very entertaining. I like him as a personality. I think he's overrated as an actual quarterback. I think he's a better actual quarterback than fantasy quarterback. But let's not forget the London game where he threw about 800 interceptions, and he definitely has some warts. He has some good. He has a lot of good. But I don't know if he's consistent enough on a week-to-week basis for fantasy purposes. Obviously, he's not your QB1, although towards the end, I saw some people drafting him as their only quarterback, which I think is going to come back and bite some people in the ass for having that much faith in him. I think he's an excellent super flex 2 kind of guy, but I think he's going to be inconsistent from week to week.
I think you're wrong.
Okay. I think you need your haircut, so we're good. I think Teresa should cut it on the show right now. She should cut her hair.
I got like this for the rest of the episode.
Now you look like Ben Franklin.
You look like the guy from
Franklin.
You look like the
impersonator.
You look like the doll from Saw coming in on the little tricycle right now. That's what you look like. How did she let this happen? She's a respectable businesswoman that she lets her husband walk around like a hippie.
Like a hippie.
Zoom people, and that's it.
Why don't you put on some tie-dye and have some patchouli and get it over with?
Right.
Do you have hippies in Texas? Is that a thing? Do you have hippies in Texas? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, we live in Austin. Keep Austin.
I mean, I live like 5 feet from Woodstock, so I know hippies, but
yeah, no. Austin has them. But,
okay, just curious.
My son's hair is so long that we were told by daycare that we actually need to put his hair up if we're not going to cut it. So we actually.
What are you gonna be? Are you gonna be friggin' man bun soon? Are you going for an FF man bun 2? Are you going for Gabe Gearing? Gabe Gearing's little brother?
This is going off the rails.
I know, like it's all going back here. You can't see it right now, but it's things are not going so well around in this area back here. Kevin knows my pain.
It's just like Kevin or Kevin Ryan, my hair. The progression.
I'm the oldest of all you bastards, so that's okay for me.
Kevin, what's our next game?
Our next game is both of your Niners at the Jets. So
bloodbath. I don't care how many guys are injured. Bloodbath. The Jets suck.
I'm just excited to see the Jets score 2 touchdowns against the Jets.
Can I tell you what really sucks? And this is not fantasy related. I've never been to a 49er game ever in my life. I've been a fan since 1986. I've never been to a game in my life. They're playing next week against the Jets. And the following week against the Giants, both in New Jersey. Both games are going to win, by the way. Because of this goddamn virus, I can't go to either game. You know what? That pisses me off. That I could finally see this team that I love and I love to root for an hour and a half from my home. I don't care what it costs, and I can't go to either game because of this goddamn virus. That's what pisses me off.
It's hard, man.
Have a Pop-Tart, and you'll be good.
Yeah.
Have a what?
Have a Pop-Tart, you'll be good.
I'm never going to have a Pop-Tart ever in my life.
I'm going to send you some goddamn Pop-Tarts.
You can send them. I'm not going to eat them. I'll give them to my kids.
I hate you.
Start McKinnon, start Mostert.
Jamison Crowder, move on.
How do you feel about Jordan Reed here?
Gary, come on.
No.
Don't be serious.
So I'm not starting him, but I did not drop him where I picked him up in tight end premium leagues just to see what happened last week. I was in Scott Fish. I was like, oh, I'm going to wait and see. I actually think like this could definitely be the Mostert, McKinnon, and Reed all getting touchdowns. Dude, hey, he's a big dude. He can mismatch. And, I'm a little nervous that the Niners offensive line, for whatever reason, didn't look that great, and that maybe the Jets defensive line could get some pressure. It's not as if Jimmy is immune to sacks. So we'll see. But really the big, like, you're probably starting Mostert regardless, especially after what he did. I really just want to emphasize, not being a homer, Jerick McKinnon is a start this week. Put him in as a flex. He will get targets. He will get run. but more importantly, he will get targets and he's going to be used where he should be. They don't have options.
Kevin, he said targets twice. As long as McKinnon is healthy, yeah, he definitely had some bursts. I'd love to see the touchdown. He has done jack squat since signing the contract with us, so it's nice to see him out there at all. And with 0 wide receivers, I can't buy into Mohamed Sanu this week.
Yeah.
It concerns me a little bit that they signed him for the health of Ayuk and Debo, who's obviously going to miss 2 more weeks. Sanu was with Kyle Shanahan before, so he might not take too long to come up to speed. But man, that signing did not put any confidence in me at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. So let's move on here. We got Rams at Eagles. I'll ask Ryan, are you touching Carson Wentz this week?
Not in the penis, I'm not.
No.
What?
I don't know if I get another.
He asked about touching Carson Wentz. I said, not down there. I'm not. No. Until their offensive line gets healthier, I don't know how you can. I mean, Miles Sanders is coming back, but I mean, he doesn't have enough time to get the ball to anybody. That's the problem. I mean, Deshaun Jackson, we all kind of thought is like a surprise guy with the revenge game against the Redskins and all, but when your quarterback has 0.3 seconds to throw the ball, you can't exactly hit anybody deep. So until they get healthy in the offensive line, I'm kind of off Wentz at the moment.
Yeah,
I agree.
All right. So as far as the Rams go, I mean, Gary, are you starting? We know your thoughts on Malcolm Brown, but is he a start for you against the Eagles?
He's not an RB2. He's an RB3, but I would put him in. I'm very comfortable doing that. It just right now, we have some weird injuries going on with some other places, and they're a good offense. At bare minimum, touchdowns come from the Rams running backs, and I don't think I would trust Akers or Henderson to be getting past the defensive line of the Eagles. So I think that McVay will put Brown in, and he's shown that he did it. They won the game. He had 2 touchdowns last week, so I would put him in and hope for 70, 80 and a touchdown.
Fair. So let's go to Panthers at Buccaneers. Now, you're starting now. I don't know if you're starting all your Buccaneers because I'm not starting Rob Gronkowski.
That's true.
I'm probably starting OJ Howard if I start any tight end, and that's a stretch too. Obviously Evans, Godwin. I'd start
Brady.
Godwin is in the concussion protocol as of today, so that's a little bit of a concern. I mean, it is. They say he had no symptoms, but he's in the concussion protocol, and he was on the Zoom call, which I guess if you're in concussion protocol, you're not supposed to be on. So I don't know what the F is going on there. That one kind of surprised me. So I don't know how you guys feel about Scotty Miller. Obviously, if Godwin doesn't go, he comes into play against a horrible Panthers secondary. But if Godwin does play, what do you guys think about Miller out of the slot?
He's just a deeper league flex.
Don't mind it. I mean, I'm not going to go out and put him in. He's a flex play at best, but a weaker one. And if we're going to switch over to the Panthers too, I'd say certainly Robbie Anderson is worthy flex too. A much stronger flex than Scotty Miller or Curtis Samuel. I mean, I think we can agree on that.
Yeah, I'm not a big Curtis Samuel fan. Final wardrobe change of the show. Continue on.
We will continue. So let's go to Broncos at Steelers. So AJ Bouye went on IR. So that pretty much eliminates, any sort of resistance to the Steelers pass catchers. So got to bump them up, right, Gary?
Yeah, I definitely would. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with it. Can I ask you a question? Just going back to the Malcolm Brown thing, I got to pick 2 between Malcolm Brown, Hines, and McKinnon, and it's like, it's half point PPR, but also with first downs that are 0.5. Would you do Brown, Hines, and McKinnon? Pick 2, 0.5 PPR, 0.5 first down.
Brown, Hines. I think I don't know if I take McKinnon, but I'd say I'd say he's lesser of the other 2. But I still think McKinnon's a solid flex. I just don't mind, the Rams against Philly. I think he can run a little bit on them. And I think Hines is going to be, it's Phillip Rivers throwing him the ball. I mean, he's just dump off city, the mayor of dump off city.
Doesn't sound like a place I want to live, dump off city.
We can keep moving.
Oh no, Beckham's got a nice flat down there.
All right, moving on. Sorry.
Yeah, let's move on. We're off the rails here. Screw it.
I do that.
Vikings at the Colts. Gary made it a point to rate JT 4 times. So Gary, I'm gonna guess that you like Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Of course, man. Home improvement. It's like the perfect time to bring it up.
Yeah, I drafted him instead of Jonathan Taylor. Boy, was my face red.
Yeah, I mean, we had the injury. It's time to see what JT can do. Fire up all your JT shares that you have. And now it just comes down to realistically setting expectations that it's not going to be Jonathan Taylor on all 100% of the running back snaps. So, get what? 60% and 40% will go to Hines. I think that both of them are great starts. And I think that Minnesota's defense is going to be pretty bad this year.
The 2020 Vikings are the 2019 Eagles. That's
if they gave up
touchdowns against them.
With a worse defensive line.
Touchdowns to Aaron Rodgers, they must be really bad.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you're letting MVS get down on you, there's something wrong there.
So yeah, we'll see. I'm excited to see what happens, and then I want to know. Obviously, I didn't realize how many passing yards Rivers had. Would you start Rivers in this game?
I mean, in a 12-team league, probably not. I think he's going to be fine. But yeah, Superflex, absolutely. 12-team leagues, I think quarterback is deep enough that he's not a top 12 quarterback. GPP and DFS maybe, if you're trying to save some money and load up on some skill positions, possibly. But I still don't know if he's going to throw enough touchdowns, to make a huge impact as a top 12 quarterback or a DFS play. But I think definitely Superflex. I think he's a guy I'm happy with having out there.
Yep.
Yeah, Rivers isn't a guy you're going to get cute with, especially in a redraft, starting him over more established options. So yeah, definitely, GPP or, any DFS, he's certainly going to be cheap enough for you. And then, Superflex, absolutely. So moving on to that, Bills at Dolphins here. So, I'm going through I've got Josh Allen as my QB1 this week against Miami. I mean, I don't think that's any stretch.
Yeah.
Not at all.
I agree.
Yeah, we're all in agreement. Wow, this is a great show, guys.
No, I mean, we're all in agreement. I think that I think you're going to be starting John Brown. You're going to be starting Diggs probably. There's no reason not to. Then it comes down to that Moss, Devin, Singletary thing. You're probably starting all 4 of them where you have them because you probably don't own 2 of them. You don't own Moss and Singletary, and you probably don't own Brown and Diggs. If you think Allen is your number 1, which we do, then I'm going to start them all. I mean, it's the Dolphins. If we're going to get into the same pattern, and there's no reason to think that we haven't, and that's you start your players against the Dolphins.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, the secondary didn't do bad last week. I mean, they gave all the rushing yards, but Xavier Howard and Byron Jones are a decent cornerback group. So it wasn't like any Patriots receiver did all that great. Edelman had Edelman's type of game, and N'Keal Harry was okay, but I don't even think he broke 40 yards. I think it was like 5 for 39 or something like that. So, I mean, there's a little bit of concern with the wide receivers, but I think that Allen did well. I was surprised with how well that John Brown did last week, to be honest. I didn't think he was going to be targeted that often. I thought it would be Stephon Diggs and a step down to John Brown. So, I think a lot of the Dolphins' problems right now is so much turnover and so many new pieces that I think it's going to take a few weeks to gel. So I do think the Bills are going to be good. But I think come mid-October, I think that the Dolphins will be a little bit stiffer defense. Byron Jones came over from the Cowboys, and Xavier Howard missed like half of last year. So it's almost kind of like having 2 new corners. And again, with no preseason and just practice, I think it's going to take a little time to come into fruition. So I think this week the Bills are actually good starts. But I do think the Dolphins' defense will improve over time during the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're absolutely in agreement there. And then, other than who are we starting in Miami? Are we really? It's tough because Parker's been hurt. Preston Williams out targeted him when Parker was off the field. I mean, that's pretty much the recurring story from last season when Preston Williams was healthy. We know the state at the tight end position where Gesicki might be a guy that can find his way into lineups. What do you think, Gary?
Gesicki's probably the only guy right now that I'm gonna. I don't even know. I want to say Gesicki. I still the Bills are just so good against the tight end, or at least they were last year. And I think that when it comes to tight ends, you probably drafted Gesicki as at least if I did with the thinking he was going to be a top. Drafted him as a top 13, hoping he would be top 8, and I don't really want to drop him. So do I have someone else to drop? If I have someone and I can maybe find someone, I couldn't even list anyone other than Logan Thomas right now that would be worth, maybe just picking up a tight end too. So I think you just roll with it and just see what happens. That's the easiest way. Other than that, Devonta Parker, if he plays, I don't even know if I'm going to play him because his hamstring. So is there anybody else? Are you actually going to play Preston Williams? I don't know.
I mean, to me, it comes down to if Parker is a full participant in practice by Friday, then I feel comfortable starting. If he's limited all week, then I probably don't feel comfortable. And that might be the only guy. Like I said, I think if you drafted Gesicki, you probably drafted another tight end. You have some pretty big balls if he was your only tight end. That's some pretty good stones right there. If he was the only guy you drafted tight end, so I figure if you drafted him, there's someone else on your roster. If not, yes, I have to roll. You have to roll with them. You're not just going to drop somebody randomly, probably, unless for some reason if you have Marlon Mack and you're getting rid of him, yes, pick up another tight end and roll with them. But if Gesicki is your tight end and there's no one else to drop, then yeah, roll with him. You never know what can happen. I mean, he's a talented guy. It's just a bad matchup.
We had different tight end strategies, apparently.
You drafted Gesicki as your only tight end?
Yeah, all over the place. Or like people behind him. That like
really? Okay.
Yeah.
I tend to carry 2 tight ends.
Kev?
And Tre'Davious White is waiting too for Devontae Parker. So yeah, I'm not touching Parker this week. Even if
but so was Stephon Gilmore last week, and he had almost 50 yards and a half. So you never know.
Parker eats that guy's lunch though.
You're right. He does. I don't know how, but he does. He's the only guy who does.
That's like the most random anomaly of all those guys. Like I think I forget the tweet, but it was like everybody was just shut out, and then Devontae Parker for some reason, Stephon Gilmore wears Devontae Parker pajamas.
100%.
Yeah. So now to the late slate. I'm sorry, I almost slipped. It's to 2020. To the football team.
Football team, baby. The football team.
Those football teamers at the Cardinals here. So, I mean, there really isn't much to say. You're not starting Haskins. You're really only starting McLaurin and potentially Logan Thomas. I'll be starting him in a few weeks, especially in Scott Fishbowl, because I had Jarwin and bye-bye. So, I mean, I'm not starting Gibson. I'm not starting McKissick. I'm not starting Barber. I'm not rostering them. So there really isn't too much to talk about on the football team side. But as far as the Cardinals go, I mean, obviously you're starting your Kyler. You're starting Hopkins. We know how you guys feel about Christian Kirk, and I still think he has viability. If I have to start him in a flex, just based on my injuries. So I'm still rolling with it. I'll still be on the train, but is Edmonds worth a start this week, seeing how he played last week?
I don't think he's quite worth a start yet, but I did not like, as someone who drafted Kenyon Drake, of how much he was used and how effective he was. So that did bother me. I think it will take a Drake injury for Edmonds to be fantasy relevant. Maybe when bye weeks come around, you might be forced to use him. But I don't think he's going to have a big breakout game unless Drake goes down.
That's fair. Yeah. So to the next game, Chiefs at Chargers. So I don't think we really have – this isn't breaking news. You're starting the Chiefs that you have. Chargers do have a solid defense. I think Kelsey's just fine. The main takeaway really here is, Eckler getting back into form, especially in PPR. Kelly's certainly worth a flex start. But what do you guys think about Tyrod Taylor keeping the job as starting quarterback for the Chargers? I'll go to Ryan with this. Do you think Herbert mixes his way in? If Tyrod Taylor really just plateaus and you're not getting really any kind of upside out of him, you think Herbert's in play? When their bye week hits.
Yes, I think it's just a matter of time. I think Tyrod Taylor is just a placeholder. He's been replaced multiple times in his career with a drafted, early round drafted quarterback, and this is no different. I mean, Anthony Lynn can say whatever you want, but Justin Herbert's the future. He's going to be the present, I would say, by Halloween at the very latest. And I won't be surprised if he's replaced before then. He had a decent first week, but yeah, he's there to be overtaken. It's just a matter of a somewhat subpar game or two, and I think you'll see Justin Herbert.
I won't ask Gary because I know what Gary's going to say.
No, I mean, I've changed my tune on it. Tyrod has not done anything to make me think that he's going to keep the job all year. They won a game they should have lost. That's what it comes down to. And a couple more losses. And I always said the reason I think that Tyrod will keep his job is because I think their defense is good enough. All that, the entire bet went out the window, in my opinion, when Derwin James went out for the season. So,
yeah, that's true.
I mean, they still have Casey Hayward. They still have Chris Harris. They still have a good.
Yeah, it changes everything when Derwin is a linchpin in that defense. So,
yeah, definitely true. So then the last game on the late slate, Ravens at Texans. So, again, not breaking news. You're starting the Ravens that you have. As far as pass catchers, you're really only starting Andrews. Ingram and Dobbins are both worth starts. Ingram for how long we'll see. That Lamar Jackson guy I heard is pretty good. So you could throw him in your lineup like that.
He's decent.
Yeah, he's all right. I'd be a better running back, but it is what it is.
He should be a tight end.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he'd thrive in that Taysom Hill role. So we're going out over to the Texans now. David Johnson. I think after last week you. Got some optimism, but obviously it's a tough matchup. And that was why I was out on Duke Johnson, was because David Johnson, if he's going, he can do everything that Duke Johnson could do, and kind of makes him irrelevant in that offense. And Will Fuller, if he's healthy, you got to start him. But what do you think about Jordan Akins? You think he's worth if you lost Jarwin, you could probably do worse. Starting Akins, I'd say, right?
I think that Akins is startable, but we're not talking like a one tight end league. We're talking about pretty deep. But Khalil Warren is on IR, and so is Jordan Thomas. So now it comes down to Darren Fells and Jordan Akins, and one of them is I think a second year tight end, and the other one is 32, 33 years old. So right now there's no Brandon Cooks. Cobb did nothing. I think that Akins has an outside chance to be the second non-running back pass catcher. So no Kiki Cutie at all? No, he got injured when you even said his name right now.
That's true. So yeah, Fells is like 33. Even Akins is like 28 years old. He's old in I guess tight end years. And then don't get me started on Kale Warring, who, good God. I've heard his name so many times talking about Dynasty. I think Jake Trowbridge was like going off the rails on him. I'd be great if I never heard that guy's name again, I swear.
How can you be 28 and be in your third year in the NFL? You came in at 25?
Was he a missionary?
He was pushed back. He couldn't pass gym class.
he had 2 credits to make up.
I had a deep dive on this. Why would you start the NFL at 25?
He failed Shakespeare in his senior year and had to go back.
He couldn't spell soliloquy.
I can't spell soliloquy.
I can't spell it either.
I can barely say soliloquy.
We got it. That's a moral victory right there.
It took him 40 years to get there.
Yeah, no shit.
43. Thank you very much.
So we got 2 games left on the slate, and let's hit them up real quick. Patriots at Seahawks for Sunday Night Football. That should be a fun game. I mean, I think Cam Newton certainly has some momentum going into this game. What Gary? What do you think about? Do you think they keep cooking with Russell Wilson, or do you think it's going to be back to Chris Carson now that maybe he got his legs underneath him, getting some reps in?
I think we'll see more Chris Carson, but I think that we'll see Russell cooking more. I think it's going to be a combo of both. It'll be more of a fading out of Hyde. DJ Dallas didn't even play; he was a healthy scratch, and they had Travis Homer, and I think that Carson was getting a little bit more play on the ground. And other than that, maybe I'm just being optimistic. Like, disregard my Niner homerism. Like, I want to see what Pete Carroll can do if they just take the reins off of Russ. Get him that MVP. I mean, he's never even had a vote. He deserves it. He's that good.
Who are you?
I've always said it. Like, Russell Williams is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. That's why I'm terrified to play the Seahawks every.
Yeah, Russell Wilson is also. Russell Williams is great, but Russell Wilson is very good as well.
I might have said the wrong thing. Sorry.
You might have. It's okay. We still love you.
At least you throwing me off with your hatred.
Now, as a 49er fan, I don't want Russell Wilson to ever get an MVP vote ever in his life again. What is wrong with him?
He deserves it.
Who gives a shit what he deserves? Who wants that? God.
I'm not saying, whatever. Moving on. So, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I think that they should just stick with it and see. Their defense, I don't think, is anything fantastic. So they need to keep the lead. And if they deviate from this for more than a couple of games, I think they're going to get roasted now that it's happened once and they've shown what they are capable of doing.
Yeah, agreed. And then the final matchup, Monday Night Football, Saints at Raiders. It was supposed to be from the Big Roomba, Allegiant Stadium, but, well, I mean, it is, but no fans there. But I'm sorry, that stadium looks like a damn Roomba.
I actually went there in January and took a helicopter ride over the strip. It was pretty cool to see from that height, but yeah, it's pretty nondescript looking.
Big black disc, pretty much.
It was actually, I took the helicopter ride the day that Kobe Bryant died in the helicopter. It was very kind of unnerving because I'm scared of heights to begin with. But I'm like, 2 helicopters aren't going to crash the same day, right? Like, I should be okay.
You know about that before going up, though?
Yeah, I found out about it this morning. Yeah,
I've not done it. No,
I considered it, but I'm like, what am I going to do? It wasn't, free, so.
All right. Yeah.
It was actually really cool. I really enjoyed it. And as someone who's like terrified of heights, I thought it was going to be really, really scary, but it was like one of the cooler experiences in a long time. So anyone's going to Vegas, and don't go there now with COVID, of course, please. I know some people are, but when things are kind of back to normal, go to Vegas, go to the helicopter ride. Seeing the strip from above it is really cool.
Yeah.
Have you where the stadium is? It's like literally right off the freeway on the
other
side from Mandalay. I didn't realize it was that close. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, it's right in the thick of everything, pretty much. They're pretty close.
So cool. I can't wait.
Where the FSC drafts are in Vegas? Am I mistaken on that?
They're in several different places, but I believe they're in Vegas as well. Yeah.
I would love to go to Vegas and do one of those drafts. I mean,
you're not that far away now.
Yeah, I cut my time down by half. So
probably more than that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, so let's talk about. There's a football game happening.
Right. Believe
it or not, I mean, we could talk about the $3 lobster all day, but Michael Thomas. I mean, probably not going to have him. So, I mean, who are those pass catchers, Gary? Who's stepping up here?
It's going to be Manny Sanders and Jared Cook. My concern is that Sanders doesn't have enough of a rapport with Breeze yet, even though he's a seasoned veteran. So I think it'll be Cook. I think it'll be Kamara. If you really want to take a deep shot, I wouldn't advise it. That's Traquan Smith. We could be totally wrong, and all of a sudden he puts up 3 for 101 and 2 touchdowns. But that doesn't mean that's something I want to be banking on. I'd rather just, I actually think Latavius Latavius is kind of my play that I think if you're looking for somebody that's going to take an uptick, they're going to run the ball more. Latavius is going to get more carries on the ground. And it's not as if he's bad. Again, I'm not sure I'm even playing him. I just think he's going to be the biggest beneficiary besides Jared Cook.
Yeah, I think Cook and Sanders is definitely the two plays. Gary's right. Sanders hasn't had a long time on the team, but I think he's going to be fine. Thomas isn't exactly the deep threat. He is, he's the 10 to 15 yard kind of guy. It just catches a million of them. So, Traquan is the deep threat. I think he'll get more usage than he would have. I still don't expect him to be a giant part of the offense. I think Sanders and Cook are most certainly going to be the biggest beneficiaries here.
Yep. And on the other side, I'm looking at, that New Orleans defense against Josh Jacobs. I mean, if they want to take somebody away, they're going to take somebody away. And, and that Josh Jacobs is, the number one guy to do that. So are you concerned, Ryan, about, Josh Jacobs going up against his defense? Do you think he does enough, maybe a little bit of pass catching floor to kind of buoy him?
It's a solid defense, but I don't see it. A matchup where I sit Josh Jacobs. I think he's gotten to the point where I pretty much start him against anyone. I certainly don't have 2 or even 3 running backs on my roster that I trust more than Jacobs. So while I might not expect him to have 90 yards and 3 touchdowns again this week, I can't see that I have enough depth in my roster where I'm not playing him this week. He's not a DFS target, but definitely in seasonal leagues, absolutely somebody I'm playing this week.
Fair, very fair. And then we'll close with, I have one question for both of you too. Sleeper of the week. The whole slate. Not sure if you guys have thought about this at all, but who's one guy that maybe a little bit off the radar that you have no problem starting in your lineups this week?
Logan Thomas.
Gary, you go first.
Logan Thomas. I'll say it twice because I feel so good about it. For anybody that didn't pay attention, Logan Thomas actually had the most targets for the Washington football team. They were playing from behind for a little bit. They have Terry McLaurin, so they have pieces there. And yet he also got 3 red zone targets. He got a touchdown. It was his first game really being the tight end one for a team with, a quarterback who's still probably even just figuring it out just as much as Logan Thomas is. They're playing against the Cardinals. They are going to have to put up points. Maybe the downside for this is if Isaiah Simmons is going to be on Logan Thomas, but I don't know why he would be because he's just not their number one. So it'll be interesting to see, but I'm definitely, it's my own personal bias. I'm starting him in Scott Fishbowl. I'm starting him in my main home league, and I'm excited to see what happens.
I'm going Laviska Shenault against the Titans. They were solid on Monday against the Broncos, but I still don't think the Titans secondary is all that good. Malcolm Butler is fine. Always be remembered for that interception that clinched the Super Bowl. But deep down, the Titans secondary is not that great. I think Shenault is a rising star in the league, and I think he's going to be really solid in week 2.
Who's yours, Kev?
It's going to be, he's got stink on him, and I think he's going to be a top 24 wide receiver this week. Christian Kirk.
Interesting. I thought you were going to say Deshaun Jackson.
Actually, you said Logan Thomas, and I was going to go with him. But obviously the whole Arizona narrative on tight ends still lives a little bit. But I like Christian Kirk. I think he's got that stink on him that people are. He's not going to be started in a lot of leagues, but I think just his profile. I think they're going to put a little bit more of attention on Hopkins, and I think he's going to. He's got the profile to certainly be a big boom week. Easy for me to say, but
I like it. I think it's a good call. I also think that Ryan poo-poos, and I am in favor of anything that is the anti-Ryan poo-poo, which is a good thing.
Fair enough.
Whatever that means.
All Odell Beckham jokes aside, Ryan, we never really gave you a proper introduction. So
I was late. I was a little late.
That is true, but you know what? You're fashionably late. So is Steve. So at least you guys are still kind of in sync there. We'll You know, it's funny because I was telling Steve last week that I had the Tenacious D ready to go for both of you on, and I was ready to just, I wanted to open with it, and then you big leagued us last week. I'm kidding, but Ryan, pimp all your stuff out. You know what you're doing. The floor is yours, my friend.
Oh, you can find me at fantasyalarm.com. My free stuff, I do game previews, which is basically every goddamn game with every goddamn fantasy relevant player that you could possibly hope for. So go to Fantasy Alarm, go search under the NFL tab. You can find that. That came out today. I do it in one Word document. They break it into game by game. It was 17,000 words this week. So I really put a lot into it. It basically consumes my life on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I'd appreciate if anyone looked at that. Just anything over there. Follow me on Twitter at Fighting Chance. I love both you guys. You guys are doing awesome. I'm so proud of everything that goes on at Fighting Chance. Now that I have vacated, that you all keep it going so well. All the new blood, all the articles, you guys all podcast, and this is awesome. I love joining you. I love that you guys are doing Sunday morning stuff. That is fantastic. And
Oh, yeah.
We formed such a great thing, but it was the sum of the whole, and it was just you guys and all your passion and all your knowledge and just everything is just so awesome. And I just can't thank you enough for having me on, for continuing legacy, for just being the awesome people that you are. And just look forward to watching this site continue to grow, to watch each of you continue to grow and see all the great future that is in front of both of you. And I just think you guys are great. And it was great to spend 2 hours with you. I'm about to have a kidney infection from having to pee from all the alcohol that I drank, but it was a lot of fun. And I hope to have the chance to come back and join you guys again this season.
Hell yeah. Thanks, buddy.
You got a standing invite, my man. Anytime.
Yes, sir.
Good.
All right. Well, that about wraps it up. So good luck this week. Make sure you guys check us out for Fighting Chance Kickoff Sunday mornings at 10 Central, where me and Gary will go through the slate and actives, weather, you name it, start sit questions. So toss those over to us here. You can see our beautiful Twitter handles here. For those of you listening on podcast, I am at KTompkinsII. Gary is at Gary Hadow1, the number 1. So again, thank you for tuning in tonight to Fighting Chance Live. And we will see you on Sunday. Hope you join us and have a great night.
See ya.